Hi, this is Dr. Victoria Nalule. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of Nalule Energy and Minerals Consultants, NEM Energy in brief. So at NEM Energy, we do lots of work with respect to oil, gas, energy mining, climate change, energy transitions, the renewable sector. We do international consultancies. We do tailored research for governments. We do executive trainings for governments, companies, oil and gas companies, energy companies, and other stakeholders. So in our series of webinars, we're discussing the various aspects relating to the energy sector and the mining sector. In today's discussion, it's going to be a brief discussion where we're talking about joint ventures in the extractive industries. So what are joint ventures? This is a partnership between two parties who agreed to jointly undertake extractive projects. It can be in the oil and gas sector, in the mining sector, or even in other sectors. But in this respect, we want to talk about the different types of joint ventures. So we have an incorporated joint venture and a corporate joint venture. And for you to follow up closely, I'm going to just share my slides, just like 3 slides for you to share, to be able to follow up on what joint ventures are, what are the main characteristics of a joint venture, and what are the 2 main types of joint ventures. And then in the next video, we shall talk about the operator and the joint operating agreement. So it's joint ventures in the oil and gas sector. And as I've already mentioned, a joint venture arises if 2 or more parties wish to pursue a joint undertaking. It's more of a partnership-based arrangement, and the view is to jointly run or undertake an extractive venture or project. Like I mentioned earlier, it can be oil and gas, mining, or any other undertaking. So with joint ventures, you have to note that it's a contract between the co-ventures. Like the contract between the co-ventures is the most important document for the joint venture. And unlike concessions and petroleum sharing agreements, the joint venture provides a structured means for shared decision making, with both parties in the joint venture undertaking coordination and control. So the key thing here is partnership, and then this aspect of jointly running the extractive venture. And you can also distinguish it from other types of oil and gas agreements, including a concession and a petroleum sharing agreement, whereby for these 2 agreements, you never find a structured means of making decisions. But however, in a joint venture, the joint venture agreement, that is one of the main aspects. You have a contract where decisions have to be made jointly. So, like I already mentioned, they are unincorporated joint ventures, and these basically run on the basis of contracts only, without the creation of a separate legal entity. So the unincorporated joint ventures are different from the corporate joint ventures, because for the corporate joint venture, in most cases, a jointly owned company is created to fulfill the mandate of a joint venture. But for an incorporated joint venture, there is no separate legal entity. There is no separate company that is created. Rather, they have an agreement on how decisions have to be made. And that agreement will also stipulate the role of the operator, the joint operating committee, and the role of the non-operator, but we shall discuss that later. So the last slide I want to talk about are the main features of a joint venture. Because remember, we've already mentioned it's totally different from a petroleum sharing agreement. It's different from the concessions. So what are the main key aspects of a joint venture? First and foremost, there are shared risks and costs, including the profits have to be shared, the taxes have to be shared, the royalties have to be shared. And the most important thing is shared decision making. One party cannot make a decision on behalf of the other parties. All parties have to agree and they have to undertake in the decision making that are going to affect the joint venture itself. And then lastly, joint liability for risks and costs must be shared. So one party can't say that, oh, for us, we shall only share the profits, but we are not liable for any risks or costs that are going to be incurred in this joint venture undertaking. The risks and liabilities have to be shared. But however, this also depends on this kind of risks. Was there negligence on the part of the operator or not? Or those, we can discuss them later. So there are circumstances under which the risks will not be jointly shared, especially if there is negligence on the part of the operator. So those we shall cover in the next video, but this video was basically to introduce what a joint venture agreement is in the extractive sector. So we have noted it's a partnership agreement where two parties agree to undertake a joint undertaking in the extractive sector. And then there are two types of joint ventures. We have the unincorporated joint venture, which basically runs on the contract. And then we have a corporate joint venture where an independent company is incorporated to undertake whatever work has to be done under the joint operating agreement or under the joint venture agreement. So that's it, because I want to keep the videos short, but stay tuned for the next video on the operator, the role of the operator and the joint operating agreement. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, and for consultancies, tailored research, capacity building and training, involve us at Nalule Energy and Minerals Consultants. All right, thank you and bye-bye.